this particular space, higher education is a site of contest for a lot of partisan rhetoric right now. I think particularly in something that Julie mentioned is this concept of a preference being applied, and that somehow that preference means that it's also not a process about merit. And I think that that's a question that, again, with the sound bites that we get and the lack of nuance, some of the shorthand that we might use in the legal field or in scholarly fields, right, is part of that. But I also think it really strikes pretty deeply at a narrative that's tied to, in the US context, right, these ideas of individualism, of merit, of sort of where education sits in that space. And also I think this idea that we've come to a place where it's seen as bad to put this preference on there because it's perceived that we have an otherwise level playing field, right? Not recognizing that in fact, maybe we don't have a level playing field yet after sort of multiple centuries, right, of systemic distributions of benefits of the state and civil society kind of going to one group of individuals. And this is where you'd ask the question, right, affirmative action as a public policy has done more for white women like myself, right? By the numbers, you can show it, because it is part of that of breaking into these spaces. Higher education for the first several hundred years of this country were exclusively white men attending in most instances, right? There are some schools that were integrated. There were some schools that Black folks, Asian folks, Latinx folks, religious minorities had created on their own, some that had multiple genders, but actually the vast majority were not, right? And the vast majority were also getting public monies. So there's something really happening with this deep sort of narrative around how things are distributed that calls up this partisan rhetoric.